Hey guys, how y'all doing this morning? A little early this morning. Wanted to come on and talk a little bit about a few things. Uh, Jack and Lily, for one. Um, it is a unique case, right? I will say that. Have y'all seen that? That's the sawmill there. That's where Daniel works, the stepdad. Um, been doing a little digging on some of the other areas of the history and the background. Um, as we all learned, the press conference, remember, I told you over the holiday weekend that I had got wind that the press conference was coming. I just didn't know when it was going to be, if it was going to be Tuesday, Wednesday. I didn't think it would be on the holidays at first. I kind of thought it would be maybe by Sunday or something, but I didn't really know. Um, I'm really interested in the works of that he worked there in Foxbrook Road in Westville. That's where that sawmill is. Um, I was kind of curious because I wanted to go back a little ways and get some older photos. I went back on. Remember I told you I kept going back on like Google Earth and stuff. That's the property long time ago, right? As y'all can see, the house is more of a whitish color. Um, I don't really know. It didn't look like anybody was really staying there at that point, but who knows, right? One thing I do kind of want to talk about a little bit is that update, right? Because to me, I think that update is critical. 4-year-old Jack and 6-year-old Lily were reported missing on the 2nd. We kept wondering why they were going back so far, right? 27th, 28th of April. They're still going back to the 28th, even in the new update. I think we're seeing a pattern here that reminds me a lot of Sebastian Rogers' pattern. Remember I talked about how he drove around that morning? First thing he did was jump in the car like Katie did and drive around. Um, I don't know now. I don't know if there's proof of him driving around. I don't know what they've determined on that yet, but one thing that kind of really gets me is that we're talking about almost a month here, right? And nothing. And I'm wondering now, another pattern, to go back to Sebastian Rogers' case, is what happened with the day before Sebastian Rogers was reported missing? What happened? They were seen out, away from home. Remember, restaurant, Texas Roadhouse, Costco's. Now what are we learning? That these children were out and about when they were supposed to be sick the day before as well. And it was also an afternoon when they were physically seen on camera. That is, to me, alarming in a way, because I look at it as, is that where they executed their plan, right? Was the plan executed in that particular moment? Was that their purpose for going to town? Was that their purpose for making the children visible that day? Was it to help them to where they would have a way of showing the children on camera, right? It's the proof of life thing to me that always gets me. You know, like, because we all feel that Katie did what she did on Sunday as a proof of life tactic, right? That's what I've always thought. And now we're seeing that in this case as well, that, in my opinion. But so now we know at least the window narrowed of when they vanished. And it gives us a better understanding of, at least we know now that Jack and Lily seem to be fine on the day before, right? It's possible now that they were, I don't know, a lot of people are having their own opinions now on that, because when you learn something like this, you learn something new. Okay, now, if they've known this, right, which evidently they have known this, I'm sure they've had this footage for at least a week or more. So why was it not brought up? Why did they not bring it up? That I can't tell you. I know that it's starting to, I don't know. It'll tell us in here that Martells have asked the RCMP to look into whether the two were abducted, but police has said there is no evidence of that. When asked if Martell believes the children are still out there alive, that's all I can hope for is to bring back Lily to Jack and Lily home. It's the only thing I'm hoping for at this point. It's the only thing you're hoping for. So now he's starting to throw a little hope in there, which this is really the first time we've seen that. But you got to remember that just because we're hearing it now, don't mean law enforcement hadn't known this in the first week, right? I know a lot of people are saying, well, they didn't have footage, and we don't know what footage they had and didn't have. We know they were, after like day 5, they were trying to collect every camera they could. So now I don't know if this is going to change the way that they look at how they investigate this further. I don't know that. I don't think it's going to change their tactic. I think we're getting an update, but the update to us is old news. You got to remember that. When they give us an update, they were working on that update probably the week before they gave it to us. If you look at the timing of their updates, and they're slowly trying to, I'm not going to say support, right? But because they did tell us it's a suspicious case, and they still think it's a suspicious case, they're still asking us one question that really bugs me. Well, they're not asking us a question, but they're telling us that they don't believe an Amber Alert was needed. So that tells me that they don't believe there's an abduction. And I think because of the dogs, they had dogs on the property. If abduction would have happened, the barking would have been going crazy. We're learning from other people that the kids really didn't play in the woods at all. Especially not by themselves. So I think the mom was right in that aspect. That's coming from a lot of different family members, that they did not really play outside. Like Daniel said, they would go out and leave the door open. Evidently, that's not the case. Not going to say that doesn't mean they haven't left the door open before, but I'm just saying they usually don't go alone outside at all. Plus, they don't play a lot outside over there. Like in the backyard, yes, but not in the woods. And I'm guessing that's probably why the backyard is fenced, right? It's to allow them to play in the yard without being able to wander off. But one thing that I am trying to understand is the autistic thing as well. Like, how autistic were they? You get information from what teacher and I think it was another family member that they weren't very verbal. Not saying that they were nonverbal, but that they weren't very verbal. They didn't talk a lot. We know that Lily, like I said before, let out a little scream a lot, but she was a drama queen, but she didn't speak a lot, and little Jack really didn't talk that much at all. So I got to look at, I still got to go back to Mom saying they'll talk your head off, they'll talk your head off. They'll talk to anyone. They'll talk to you all. Why do you explain that to us? It's not about who they talk to. It's about where are they? They don't believe in stranger danger. They'll go with anyone, remember? For a piece of candy. Or how do they know this? How do they know that they'll go with anyone for a piece of candy? How do they know that they don't know stranger danger? How do they know they don't learn that in school? Just because they don't teach them doesn't mean they don't learn it in school. I don't think there was a lot of school involved in their life. I really don't. I think that it was a struggle. And I'm still wondering about the sawmill stuff. Like, is that something that he pretty much worked every shift he was supposed to work, other than I think around this time frame. And I don't know if he was, I know there's some people that work with him that side-eyed him. I've seen those comments out there. Some people have said different things about that sawmill. Like, there's plenty of, he knows the sawmill well, and there's plenty of places to evidently hide people, right? I'm just going to say it that way. That there's also a lot of areas on the way there that are pretty rural, right? Pretty not ever traveled. I think the car thing would have been proven, because what gets me is it seems to be that they knew that they had footage somehow, some way, because when they were told about the suspicious black car, if you remember, when it was brought up during the dispatch, remember how they were dispatching and then the ground searchers were communicating with the sergeants and different, you could hear it over these radio waves and stuff that was released. You hear them ask, do they want them to verify and vet that car? They want them to check out that black car. It ended up being just a couple, right? Going to the lake. If they had access to that, then they had access to that road of that home, right? Then they know what vehicles were going up and down that road. That's what that tells me, is that they were able to track it down with drones based off information on cameras, or ring camera, whatever it may be. Then I'm assuming that it did go down that street, and that must be the people that live directly across the street, a little bit over, not much. They're like 500 meters away, less than 500 meters away, I believe they told us. And if you look at it on that little map that I showed you a while back, I don't think I saved that photo, but it's not very far. It's like less than 500 meters to be exact. It shows their trailer, and then directly across the street, a little bit kind of to the, I think, the left or right, is where that house is. And that woman didn't even know the kids lived there. Here we go with another case that was similar to that. Sebastian Rogers. Some of those neighbors in that neighborhood didn't even know Sebastian lived there. It's a lot of similarities. And there's a lot of trafficking that goes on in those areas. We're learning this. Look at Elisa's case that I've been covering too. Now there's a third man of interest. He's not arrested like the other two. The other two have been charged. So that's telling me that they know more than they're letting us out on that case. Evidently, these two were involved in that case. And it's right in front of your face and you don't even know what's going on, right? Supposedly within, 20, 30 miles of that area, there's a lot of that going on. I did receive an email from someone. I had already known a lot about the sawmill. I had already reached out, actually, to that group, the sawmill group. But thank you for the email. Thank you for the knowledge. And it says that could the children be hidden in sawdust piles? That is something that some people would be like, are you serious? But yes, that sawdust piles basically are would keep things odor free. That is something interesting to learn. And they're saying there's a lot of back roads and trails of their homes, which we know that. I've seen that on Google Earth. I have seen a lot of trails there. I had even gone back, like I said, back years to the 80s and 90s in this case to check on things. The brother Justin, right? There's a story that's kind of floating around, and this is like the 10th time I've heard this, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, about the brother and Daniel keeping a girl held hostage for a while until her mother rescued her. Now, remember I talked about how his past is going to come back and haunt him, right? I didn't want to be the one to come out here and break all this stuff. Sometimes you gotta think about what you put out before you put it out, right? There's a lot that's on this guy, but there's also a lot on that mother. There's some people thinking that he passed a lie detector test. There's some thinking he failed a lie detector test. And just to be honest, what I heard was he answered 3 questions, and then according to that, he quit taking the test. I guess, I don't know if he was paranoid, didn't want to take it. I don't know if he just didn't like how it was being given. I don't know that, and I don't know that it's even a fact. But I did hear from some sources on the ground out there that he did not complete. Now, that doesn't mean that he didn't take some of it and then come back and take some of it another day. I don't know that. But evidently there's quite a few people that they've been trying to get to take these tests. And there's been a few volunteers of people that have taken the test. Now, evidently for someone like Daniel that kept saying, give me the test, he sure did fight against it when it came down to reality. But I don't know if that's 100% accurate or not. All I can say is their stories are inconsistent. He's been the only one there. But then again, why he was surprised, another thing that bothers me is why was he talking about how she ghosted him and left him in the beginning when he comes out in the same breath? And this is important because he told us, I don't know why she's left and blocked me and all this stuff. Why? Well, you told us that your parents, your mom, kicked her off of the property. Okay, well, if you kicked her off the property, then you knew then and there why she left. So why would you come out and contradict that? Why would you come out and basically say you don't know why she left and then turn around in less than 24 hours and tell us on some news channel that your mom kicked her and family members off the property? Make that make sense. That's a big something to me. Like, you don't come out and try to say, oh, poor me, I don't know why she's doing this to me, and yet, you know what I'm saying, you had a hand in her being kicked off your property. You see what I'm saying? The finger pointing. And to me, the finger pointing seemed to start with Daniel, not the other way around like we were made out to be. Because now we know, and have known for a while now, 3 weeks at least, that the reason, according to him, the reason she left was not because he doesn't understand why she left him and why she ghosted him. and all these things that he said she did was that he actually had a hand. That's his mother. He could have easily said, "Mom, stop. This is my wife, stop." He didn't. He could have defended her against his mother and not let his mother kick her off the property. But I think at this point, the mother knew as well as Daniel. Like I said, I think they all knew. I think they all knew what happened. I think all four of them knew what happened. And if Meadow could know what happened, I believe Meadow would have been the one to give us the answers. But little Meadow's just too little. And now I'm starting to side eye that we're putting two and two together here on a board, that his stories are way deeper and darker than what we know. Because that, I'm sorry, but that is a huge step in the direction of guilt now, is the lies. He bald-faced lied to us in the beginning, basically making it look like this mother deserted her children, when yet he knew she was kicked off the property. He was there at the fight. He was there at the argument. But it doesn't go back. It doesn't change the fact that they were accusing this man of harming these children. That is huge. You usually do not see. When have we seen a missing case in this instance besides Harmony Montgomery, which didn't happen in a time frame like this did? But when have we really seen that in a missing case? When they point fingers at one another, that, you know, stepfather and mother, bio mother, point fingers. The only time we've seen this is not with stepfather and mother. It's with bio father against stepdad and mom, and that's Sebastian Rodney. That's why I'm just pointing the finger at Katie. You see what I'm getting at, right? Now you have three main points that are identical in these two cases. If you want to count the autism as one, that's 4. If you want to count the neglect as one, that's 5. You want to count the lies as one, that's 6. You want to count the inconsistent stories by the mother, that's 7, right? You can continue on with these here, and we can make a PowerPoint out of this if you want me to, and explain to y'all. These cases are so much alike. It's like Daniel had seen and heard of Sebastian Rogers' case. And the reason I believe he has is because even if he had in the beginning, when it came to Chris Proudfoot applying and wanting to apply for work in Canada, if y'all remember that was similar and pretty close to that area that he was referring to on his Facebook. Remember he said job openings in Canada? Remember that? We know that the Bauer starts to travel through Canada to go to their place in Alaska. Okay. There's a lot of rumors about these remains that were found. Evidently, it was single remains, I believe, that's going to come out later, that were found. Not 2 sets of them. Right? This is kind of an area. Who knows what it is, right? I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying sometimes cases are solved. Other cases are solved by new cases. Sometimes searching for certain missing children lead to other missing children. That's all I'm trying to say. But the whole point is if you really sit back and look at this, it seems like the finger pointing started in less than 24 hours. That's pretty critical. It's pretty critical. So I wonder now how people feel when you think about it that way. Not only did Daniel try to come out and throw the mother as being a bad mom and leaving her kids and not searching for her kids and not staying at the property, he kicked her out of the property. Well, his family, his mom did such just as much as him. He could have stood up for her, and he chose not to. So we got another mama's boy, so that'd be 0.8, right? All in all, did someone hand these children candy that day when they were in town? Did they get in someone's car? That Daniel and Malaya? No. Did they let someone take these children for a reason? This debt collection or any of these things, is that involved? I don't think so. But then again, you just don't know in this day and time. if there's any truth to it or not. But as far as did someone take them that day, I don't know. There's no scent of them in the backyard, so they didn't go out the sliding door, just like Sebastian didn't go out the front door. There's no scent of him either. I mean, there's a lot of similarities. And what else is going to come out? I don't know. Just remember, the law enforcement has had this information that they're releasing to us for a good while. But what's still bothering me is that they're still wanting to go back a few days before. Now they're going back knowing that these children were seen on the 1st. They're still going back. Why? Why is that? Are they trying to find out if someone was following these children? Or are they trying to see if there's any cars that match cars that might have been going by a couple of days in a row? Like somebody that the parents know, perhaps, that might have planned this with the family? I don't know. Were those kids like told to walk down to the road to the bus and then somebody else picked them up? I don't know. We know there was a trail on their same bus route. That's where they picked up the scent, is how the way they walked to the bus. Were these children told by their parents, told by Daniel that morning to go to the bus? And they knowing that they weren't going to the bus? Daniel knowing they weren't going to the bus, that somebody was going to pick them up? I don't know. I can tell you right now, if they find a car, which would have been around the school time that morning, then that might be a possibility. But they wouldn't have sent them out there when the real bus was going to be there, because then if they would have done that, then they would have got on the real bus. And then we wouldn't be sitting here. But this is something that they're investigating, I can tell you that. They're investigating the possibilities of anything happening and anything being done with the knowledge of stepdad or mom or both. I don't know exactly. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know why she wouldn't just give the kids to the bio dad or something of that nature, right? I'm waiting for something like that to come out, just like in Sebastian Rogers' case, right? I'm waiting for something like that to come to light and put these cases even more alike than they are already. But I don't know. I guess we'll soon find out, right? Hopefully, prayerfully. I've always thought that I don't think those kids were ever in the woods. And if they weren't walking in those woods, in my opinion. Something foul play happened here. And I don't know if it's foul play meaning abduction that was planned, meaning some family member took these children, predators that they knew took these children, or this is all one big blow up. Some people have said this is just a way for them to get money, that they were planning on starting to go fund me right away, and that since it blew up the way it did, they didn't do it. Now, I don't know if that's true. That their plans were to start a GoFundMe to raise money and do it that way, and that the kids are going to turn up in a while and be found somewhere in a gas station. It's a rumor, probably, I'm sure, but I don't know. You never know in this day what people will do now for money. And was this part of their plan? I don't really know. I have no idea. I mean, until they decide to tell us more, we're not going to know. But they know way, way, way more than they're telling us. And to me, with that being said, it's really a scary thing, right? If you think about it. And I go back to that message. Remember the other day that said that there was remains found during the search over the weekend, but that it was confirmed to not be Jack and Lily, not identified to be Jack and Lily's remains. I think it was they're saying it might have been from the hurricane in 2022 or something. I don't know for sure, but that is posted out there that yes, it was possible that remains were found and that they did not belong according to them, to Jack and Lily. But the Canadian Press, the HO Nova Scotia Ground Search and Rescue Association. Investigators said they have confirmed the last time the two missing children were seen in public in rural Nova Scotia community. That, May 1st, right? Remember, we know now they were seen on May 1st on camera in the evening. But what really is getting me in this says, based on details we've gathered so far, we've confirmed that Lily and Jack were observed in public with family members on the afternoon of May 1st, says Corporal Sandy Mathur, Northeast Novus RCMP Major Crimes Unit. So it says seen with family members. That doesn't mean mom and stepdad. I don't know. Who's the family members that had these children out? Was it Daniel and Malaya? Was it just Daniel? Was it? I don't know. They're not telling us. But they are telling us one thing that's been sticking to me this whole entire time, considering this is supposed to be a missing children's case. They sure are telling us a lot, because they're asking for people to send dash cam footage or videos of that road between 12 p.m. on April 28th and 12 p.m. on May 2nd, leading up to the timeline of the children going missing. The thing is here to me, that 50 people have been interviewed, and there's more going to be interviewed this week, right? The pair were reported missing on May 2nd. Were last seen around 10 a.m. by their stepdad, okay? Okay, how were they last seen around 10 a.m. if they called at 9:40 a.m.? See, none of this timeline is making sense to me. One thing I don't understand also is 6 days into disappearance, right? They started scaling back to revisit some areas of interest, right? And then the likelihood that they're alive is very low, Robert McKinnon says, right? Since the beginning, stepdad has asked the RCPM-MP to look into whether the two abducted, right? They say there's no proof of abduction. And then when they ask the stepdad if he believes that the children were still alive out there, he says it's all he can hope for. And I'm sorry, but that's pretty sad. But the one main thing that I keep going back to this whole entire case is, what shifted them from the beginning of this to saying that their main priority was to find these missing children that they believe had wandered off in the woods, to we need to find the truth of what happened to these two. They know something happened to them. They're letting us know that. They know something happened to these children. It's just they need to find the truth in it. So it's not about finding children that they believe wandered off that are missing. It's about finding children they believe something happened to them, and then finding out what exactly happened to them. And I think we learned that early on. I go back to the change of when everything changed. But then again, the biggest change to me was still at a few hours in. When all these people are out there searching, and they go around 12:50 and get on these radios and tell everyone to halt except for drone operators, which the drone operator was with the mother. So they didn't halt that, because not only was this drone operator told to have this mother with them, I believe it was to see if she would say anything else, right? You got to remember, a lot of them have body cameras on or things of that nature. If you got a drone running, then you probably got a camera running or some kind of microphone. I think they were trying to gather any information they could. But that 2 hours in, a couple hours in, 2.5, 3 hours, whatever it was, why did they halt them? They learned something right then and there, guys. And then if we notice, it wasn't many days after it started that they scaled it back. And to me, these people know how long people can make it out there. They know it's possible that these kids could have made it longer than 6 days. Sorry. Human body can do some crazy things, especially if you remember when, if they were autistic, which I believe they were, according to school teachers and things of this nature, that I believe they were. Even the parents said they were. But the thing to me is, for one, the stories just were different. They were not something that you hear from parents that have hope that their children are out there and that they really, really wandered off. They never gave us any explanation to show that they even felt that those kids were in those woods. I mean, she told us she was grieving. Did she know what happened? And she was trying to hold it together and figure out how she was going to get out of that house. Evidently, she must have said something to start the fight. According to family members, she accused him before he even began to go get his mother to kick her out. So why was she accusing him so suddenly? Like right after she spoke. And then to not speak is just beyond me. To not search is beyond me. Just because you were kicked out of that property don't mean you can't search that road. Don't mean you can't be searching other places. Don't mean you can't be putting out flyers. Don't mean you can't be doing these things as a mother. But when you do nothing, it leads me to believe that you already know the outcome. And right now, you're just praying and hoping that they're going to find your babies. And get you the closure that you deserve. I don't know. I'm totally confused by her actions because they're not normal. I mean, if either one of them had any halfway normal attitude, it would be different. But if you really look at the pros and cons to both people, in this, Daniel is sitting in a way worse position than the mom. Mainly because she has been silent. Mainly because she has stayed shut up, right? She has stayed hush-hush, or whatever you call it. But him, on the other hand, oh no. He was rambling his mouth just like Chris Proudfoot. But Proudfoot's difference was he was out there telling everybody he took a test and passed when he never even taken one. And I'm wondering that in this one too. I'm wondering if that is true, that Daniel backed out 3 questions in. But he still got 3. If that's the case, they still got 3 questions in. But usually the first couple of questions are the easy ones to get a steady, accurate reading of truthfulness and lying. So did they make it to the hard question? Was that 4th question, did you harm these children? And that's when he got up and walked out? Or did he get up and walk out? I don't know. It's just out there. So it's something that we have to kind of try to figure out for ourselves. And I know that the way they're tight-lipped, it's almost impossible. But you got to remember, if we can nail down the source, we can find out if this man took one or not, right? Because we know that there's not anyone in that area that offers them. So then they had to come from an outside surrounding area. But who would? I wonder why law enforcement doesn't have lie detector tests at their offices. But you would have thought that they would have jumped on it on day one, right? I think the reason that law enforcement didn't ever ask them to take one early on is because they did feel that all this was just a ball of lies. I think their attitude showed the law enforcement. I honestly do. I mean, if you were a cop in that situation, and they're telling you this, and the stories aren't out, they're telling you 8 a.m., mom's saying they weren't in there, they've been missing from the room since 8 a.m., then they change it, then I don't understand it all. Like, the times never added up. And that is by far the biggest red flag of all. Was this done to confuse the public? To keep us from a timeline? To keep us from establishing a timeline? Or was it just basically they were just bald-faced lying? I don't know. I know it don't look good for them. They haven't done any justice to themselves at all whatsoever. We don't see them pleading. We don't see them begging. We don't see them. If they think this child was abducted, this mother is telling us she wanted an Amber Alert, then why is she not begging for their kidnappers to release her kids? Why is she not offering to pay a ransom or something? Right? Why is this not happening? Like, you're telling us on one hand you want an Amber Alert, but you're not giving us any proof or backing up your thought. You're not saying, please kidnappers, let my children go. You didn't even say your children's name in your interview. Here we are, Katie Proudfoot, same thing, right? Let's go back to PowerPoint number 10, I guess, on that one now. I mean, there's so much alike, it is unreal. And are we looking at another Sebastian Rogers 2.0 right now? Because the biggest question I have is, has Daniel been pushing everything he's pushing about basically talking down on the search? Y'all don't even finding a backpack, y'all not finding a diaper, y'all even doing anything, right? Are y'all even searching? Because I searched everywhere and they're not here. Remember, he said he searched everywhere in 10 minutes, right? That they could have been in 10 minutes. I mean, that's really sad. But you're talking about all that rudeness, and you're telling us they walked out that sliding door. Now, I get it. He said they had only been gone a couple of minutes for silence. So if there's only really a couple of minutes and they didn't even make it out of the backyard, so where are they? That's the question I have. But they have not helped themselves at all. The speculation that we're seeing, the people's thoughts that we're seeing are based on their actions. So there's no one to blame here other than them. Sorry. And is there a lot going on, right? We know that his past, right, is not good, right? We know that Daniel's past is not that good. And we know that, I mean, that woman that he dated before, I have a picture of her, but it's on my computer, of the ex-girlfriend, I think the one who possibly has 2 kids with. I don't know about all this. I told y'all this weeks and weeks ago, but I haven't really cared much about digging up onto that one because that has nothing to do with Jack and Lily being missing, right? It doesn't. It has actually zero to do with it. I'm trying to figure out, like, that Foxbrook Road is an area I think that really needs to be checked. And I think they have checked that area. I think that's one of those areas that law enforcement did target. Remember when I said they were way outside the home? I think they did check a few areas there. The thing that's going to matter is, did Daniel's vehicle or phone travel to that sawmill within, just say, May 1st, after these kids were seen, to that morning before 911 was called? Was his vehicle anywhere in the vicinity of that sawmill? Where he worked. Remember, what did Chris Watts do? Took his kids to where he worked, right? These are the kind of things that I think about based on past cases. You're talking about 2 children, just like Chris Watts. You're talking about, it's the rudeness of where these children were taken, right? Like the sawmill way out in the middle of nowhere like that. I mean, there's just so many things that you can compare this case to. But I'm sorry, but this man, Daniel, reminds me of Chris Watts a lot. The way he speaks, the way he carries himself, the dumb things that he said up front, like that normal missing parents wouldn't say. I mean, the only difference is Daniel was the stepfather, Chris Watts was the dad, right? But it's still, it's so confusing in a way, guys, because we want to know so bad where these babies are and get justice, right, if needed. And yet, we're no closer today than we were when it first started. It's and that's what lies do. They don't leave a trail that we can for sure say is truth. And then we have law enforcement on one hand that tells us, like, in the beginning they had believed that these kids wandered into the woods and they were searching. They just want to find the kids and bring them home. No, to we need to find out the truth of what happened to them. That is two totally different things here. And you know, these detectives in press conferences have basically said, "Hey, we can't share anything because it is an investigation." But they know so much more than we know, and they should do that. They should know that. But what piece of the puzzle are they trying to put together? Like, you know, if we look at what comes out, right? That's what we really have to do. What are they putting out there? They're only putting out there what they want us to know, right? And it is pretty powerful what they're putting out there, because they've let us know that this has been suspicious. It's what, a few days in. You know, the major crimes unit was there on day 2, that morning, the start of day 2, that Saturday. And we always thought, well, they've had X amount of time, but this is what I go to. Like, if the law enforcement knew that those children were seen in public on May 1st, to stop a lot of that BS, why didn't they just come out and tell us that early on? Hey, the last known footage that we got of these children was on, you know, May 1st, towards the evening, in town. That's all they had to say. But yet they left that detail out for a while. And I don't think that detail was something they just randomly discovered. I don't believe that. I think that footage, when they go through the community, because you know they're looking for strange cars, and they're looking at any camera they can in their entire area. You know, I know they did tell, what's her name, that they should have got her camera sooner, Melissa, but, you know, that is 8.6 kilometers away. So they were focused more on closer to the home, because you gotta remember, they were told these kids wandered off. Well, they don't know if I don't think a 4 and a 6-year-old in that rural area could have made it, you know, 8.6 kilometers, right? That's a little far, especially considering weather and downfall of trees and thickness of brush. Plus the critters, you know, bears and moose or whatever, you know, lives in those areas. There's always danger with wildlife. But in all, if we look at the honesty of what the parents have told us, well, the mom hasn't told us much, but sometimes it's what they don't say that we need to focus on. It's what they don't do. And, you know, let's say the do's and the don'ts, right? Well, it's what they don't do. She never begged for her kids. She never said their names. She never spoke like she had hope that they were going to come home. Just this little, well, you know, moms always think the worst. No, they don't. That is totally wrong. Any missing mother within the first 24 hours has more hope than you can ever imagine. And more prayers. And more, the number one of that, saying their name. Saying the kids' names is what 99.998% of missing moms do. She did it, and Katie Proudfoot did it. I mean, only one I can give props for that out of these ones that I believe are the parents is Summer Wells. At least they said Summer's name an awful lot, regardless if they're guilty or not. They said her name a lot. And in these 2 cases, they didn't. So that's why I said that sometimes you have to look at what they didn't say. Daniel, he's just been the talker since day one. He's tried to talk himself out of this case so much, it's not even funny. But in the process of trying to talk himself out of it, I think he's talked himself into being the number one suspect, to be honest. Because if we, as the outsiders that we look in, if we have to judge, we're going to judge. Daniel's the one that whatever happened, happened on Daniel's watch. That's how a lot of us see this. Some people think it happened on the mother's watch, but Daniel wasn't at work for some reason over those few days. Why, I don't know, but evidently he wasn't one to miss work, so I don't really know why he did. And you know, telling us that, you know, the kids were sick enough to stay home from school, but yet they're seen in town with family members. That's kind of weird, right? Was it with grandma? Some people are saying that it was with grandma. I don't know. With Daniel's mom, evidently taking him to ice cream or something of this nature. That's kind of the rumors. I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know why they were in town. I just know evidently they had been sick, and evidently they weren't at the doctor, or were they at the doctor? Maybe it's going to come out that they were at the doctor. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? But they know. They know what happened. I think the clear signs of neglect are there, no matter how we look at this case. To me, the signs of neglect are right in front of us. But anyway, that's our little hour session this morning. I got to get to doing some other things. I got to get these fire chats loading. I got to get thumbnails created. I've been working a lot, guys, so I might be a little slow on getting some videos back out, but I'm doing my best. I will get them loaded as quickly as I can. But with that said, y'all have a blessed day, guys, and there might be something going to break today, just to forewarn you. I wanted to wait till the end of the video to put that out, but you know me, I'm not here to try to break anything and jump out ahead of it like that. I like to let things try to go smoothly. These are two children's lives we're talking about, their heartbeats, you know, and I'm not here to accuse anyone wrongfully or anything of that nature. I just go by what I see and what we can dig and find. And I can just say it's not looking good for Daniel right now, or the mother, to me. I believe they're going to figure this out. I want to hope that they're going to figure this out. I want to pray. Is there a 20% chance that they might not? Yeah, because the number one thing I've always said in this is, if you look at the way Daniel has spoke and some of the things that he said, it's almost like he's trying to tell us, look all you want to, you're never going to find them. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. Were these children meant to never be found? Is that what this is? Is that why they're not finding anything? But yet, stepdad is saying, I can't believe they didn't find a backpack or boots or a diaper or something of that nature. A lot of people think he planted things. I think law enforcement might be onto something there, right? The pink blanket possibly could have blown off an STV. I don't know. Who knows? But hopefully some of the satellite imagery that we send in might help. I don't know. We try to do things behind closed doors. Y'all know that. We'll see. We'll see what comes out. I pray for truth. I pray for answers. And most of all, I pray for Jack and Lily Sullivan to be located and for the truth to come out. And if it is that they got into something, I don't know now that they're seen out that late on Thursday. That means that puts that past the party date. And so it kind of goes against some of the things I thought, that they might have gotten into something during that party. So now I'm kind of gone from that aspect of it, based on what we're learning. I'm not saying they still didn't get into something within that home. It is possible, I guess, but the odds don't seem to be as strong as they were before, because we really didn't have a window. We just knew that they were last seen at school on the 29th, and that was it. But now we're learning a little more. I think it's always better to kind of look at it again and see if it adds up the same, right? But anyway, with that said, guys, we love y'all. Y'all have a blessed day. Remember, allegedly, these are my thoughts, my theories, my opinions, my free speech. I'm entitled to it. Trigger warning times 100 million. Y'all's comments, y'all's and y'all's alone, not to reflect the channel. We do our research together because we are a big RLL family. And y'all have a blessed, wonderful day, guys. We love y'all. And we'll see what we can find out. In the meantime, y'all be safe. All right, guys. Remember, everyone's innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. Bye.